Elena Voss had waited her whole life for this moment. Every girl in her pack grew up hearing about the mating ceremony, the moment when the scent bond locked into place and told you, without any doubt, who you were meant to spend your life with. She had imagined it 1,000 times. She never imagined it would end the way it did. The ceremonial grounds of Blackthorn Pack were full that evening. Hundreds of wolves stood in neat rows, torches burning along the stone path, elders seated at the front in their formal robes. Elena stood at the center in a simple white dress, her heart pounding, her palms damp. Across from her stood Damian Ashwood, Alpha King of Blackthorn, tall and composed, his dark eyes unreadable. When the bond snapped into place, Elena felt it instantly. It was warm and overwhelming, like something ancient recognizing something new. She looked up at Damian, expecting to see the same wonder on his face. Instead, she saw his jaw tighten. He turned to the crowd. His voice was steady, though his hands were not. "She is not my mate," he said. "I reject this bond." The words hit her like a physical blow, because in a way, they were. The mark forming on her shoulder turned scalding hot, and pain tore through her entire body. She fell to her knees, gasping, as murmurs spread through the crowd. Nobody moved to help her. Nobody dared question the king in front of the entire pack. Damian did not look back. He turned and walked away, his shoulders rigid, his steps too fast for a man who felt nothing. What none of them saw was the storm raging inside him. His wolf, Cade, had gone wild the second the rejection left his mouth. Cade did not accept it. Cade did not understand duty, or treaties, or politics. Cade only understood that the one person meant for them had just been hurt by their own hand, and every instinct in him screamed to fix it. Damian ignored him. He had made a promise years earlier, before he ever met Elena, to marry Marisol Voss, Elena's older sister, in order to seal an alliance between Blackthorn and the Voss pack. Two territories had been at odds for a generation, and this marriage was supposed to end it. Damian believed, in that moment, that his own happiness was a fair price for peace. He told himself the rejection was necessary. He told himself it would fade. It did not fade, not for him, and not for her. Elena left Blackthorn territory that same night. She could not stay in a place where every wolf now looked at her with pity or scorn. Rejection was rare, and it left a mark that never fully disappeared, both on the skin and on a person standing in wolf society. Her family, embarrassed and unsure how to help her, said little as she packed her things. Her mother cried. Her father would not meet her eyes. Only her younger brother hugged her tightly at the door and told her he was sorry. She traveled 2 days before she reached the territory of the Hollow Ridge Pack, a smaller, quieter group that welcomed outsiders more easily than most. Their alpha, an older woman named Renata, took one look at Elena's exhausted face and offered her a place to stay without asking a single question. Elena was grateful for that silence. She was tired of talking about what had happened to her. She told herself she would rebuild her life there. She would find work, make new friends, and never again let a wolf, especially an alpha, get close enough to hurt her like that. For a while, it seemed to work. She helped in the pack's medical house, tending to injuries and learning remedies from the older healers. She started to sleep through the night again. She even laughed sometimes, at small things. But 200 miles away, Damian was falling apart. The rejection had not freed him the way he expected. If anything, it had made things worse. He could not shift properly anymore, without Cade trying to drag him in the direction Elena had gone. He stopped sleeping, his appetite disappeared. The sharp, steady judgment that had made him a respected king began to slip, and pack elders started to notice him staring blankly during meetings, his eyes flickering gold at moments when there was no danger present at all. Any wolf who had lived long enough knew what that meant. A rejected bond did not simply disappear. It could kill the one who caused it, slowly, from the inside, unless something was done. Damian was killing himself without lifting a single hand against his own body. Cade would not accept this quietly. During the full moon, when a wolf's control over his human side grows thin, Cade seized the opportunity his human self would never allow. He shifted and ran, following Elena's scent across the border of 3 different territories, ignoring every law that said an alpha could not cross into another pack's land without invitation or alliance. It was one of the oldest rules in wolf society, older than the packs themselves, meant to prevent war between territories. Damien, in his right mind, would never have broken it. But his right mind was losing the fight. The Elder Council of Blackthorn summoned him the very next day, demanding an explanation for the territorial violation that had already reached their ears through frightened messengers from Hollow Ridge. Damien, exhausted and pale, tried to explain that it would not happen again. The council gave him a direct order. He was to stop pursuing Elena Voss immediately, for the safety of both packs. He agreed. He meant it, at the time. But 2 weeks later, during the next full moon, Etede broke free again. This time, the journey was more dangerous. He had to pass through a stretch of neutral land currently disputed by 2 hostile packs, and he was caught in a skirmish meant for someone else entirely. He fought his way through, injured but unwilling to turn back, driven by something deeper than pain. He reached Hollow Ridge territory just before dawn. Elena woke to a soft scratching sound outside her window. When she looked out, her breath caught. A massive black wolf lay curled beneath the tree outside her room, his fur matted with dried blood, his sides rising and falling with exhausted breaths. She recognized him instantly, and something inside her chest twisted painfully at the sight. She should have called for help. She should have alerted Renata immediately, since an unknown alpha on Hollow Ridge land without permission was a serious matter. Instead, she found herself pulling on a coat and slipping outside before she even decided to do it. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered, kneeling a careful distance away. The wolf lifted his head weakly and looked at her with eyes that were unmistakably Damien's, even in this form. There was no arrogance in them now, no royal composure, just exhaustion, and something that looked painfully like grief. She helped him inside before anyone else woke, more out of instinct than forgiveness. By the time he shifted back to human form, wrapped in a blanket she gave him, his wounds were already beginning to heal on their own, the way wolf injuries usually did, but the damage underneath, the kind caused by a broken bond, was not something that healed so easily. "Why are you here?" she asked, arms crossed, keeping her voice hard, even though her hands were shaking. Damien did not try to make excuses. He told her everything. The old promise made to unite 2 packs through his marriage to her sister. The belief that rejecting the bond would spare both of them a lifetime of pain, caused by a political marriage he never wanted either. The mistaken idea that duty could simply override what nature had already decided. "I thought I was protecting everyone," he said quietly. "I was wrong. Rejecting you didn't end anything. It just made both of us suffer for nothing." Elena wanted to hate him. Part of her still did. She thought of the humiliation on the ceremonial grounds, the pain of the mark, the exile from her home, the months of rebuilding a life from nothing. She was not ready to simply forgive him, because his wolf had run himself ragged trying to reach her. But she also could not ignore the truth in his voice, or the way Cade's presence, even now, felt strangely familiar to her, like a piece of herself she had tried to forget. Word of Damien's repeated law-breaking eventually reached every pack in the region, and the Elder Council could no longer overlook it. He was summoned back to Blackthorn to stand trial, not for a small offense, but for treason against pack law. Crossing into another territory without permission was one charge. Defying a direct order from the council was another. Neglecting his duties as Alpha King while chasing a rejected bond across dangerous land was a third. Elena traveled back to Blackthorn as well. Not for Damien's sake, she told herself, but because she had been asked to testify about what actually happened the night he arrived injured on Hollow Ridge land. She told herself she only wanted the truth to be known, whatever that truth cost him. The trial was tense. The council sat in a long row, stern and unmoving, as witnesses spoke about the territorial violations, the ignored warnings, and the king's declining health. Damien did not defend himself with excuses. He admitted every violation clearly, taking full responsibility, without hiding behind his title. It was Elena's testimony that changed the direction of everything. When asked to explain what happened, she did not soften the truth, but she also did not exaggerate it into something crueler than it was. She spoke about the pain of rejection, yes, but she also spoke honestly about the exhausted, bleeding wolf she found outside her window, driven by something far beyond simple stubbornness. Then Marisol, Elena's own sister, stood up unexpectedly from the crowd, and asked to speak. She admitted, in front of everyone, that she had never wanted the arranged marriage to Damien either. She confessed that she had already formed a deep connection with another wolf within the Voss pack, someone she had been too afraid to mention because of the old treaty hanging over both families. If she had spoken up sooner, the entire painful situation might have been avoided completely. The revelation changed the mood of the trial instantly. It became clear that an alternate alliance between the two packs could still be arranged, one that did not require sacrificing a true mate bond for the sake of old political promises. The years of pressure, the fear of war, and the assumption that only one specific marriage could secure peace had all been built on a misunderstanding no one had bothered to question until now. Still, the council could not simply erase the laws Damien had broken. He had crossed sacred boundaries, defied direct orders, and neglected his duties for weeks. In the end, they sentenced him to step down from the throne for 1 full year, handing leadership temporarily to a trusted council member, while Damien lived among the pack as an ordinary member, stripped of the immunity his title once gave him. Damien accepted the sentence without protest. For the first time in a long while, Cade settled quietly beneath his skin, calm now that the truth had finally come out into the open. Elena did not rush toward forgiveness, and she made that clear to him. Trust, once broken in front of an entire pack, could not simply be repaired because of one dramatic rescue or one honest confession during a trial. But she also found that she no longer wanted to run from him completely. For the first time since the ceremony, she felt like she had a real choice in the matter, instead of having her future decided for her by either rejection or duty. In the weeks that followed, Damien did not chase her the way Cade once had. He waited. He worked ordinary tasks around the pack, quiet and humble, letting his actions speak instead of demanding forgiveness he had not yet earned. Slowly, carefully, Elena began allowing him small amounts of her time, first as an acquaintance, then as something closer to a friend willing to listen. Months passed before either of them spoke openly about what they truly wanted from each other. When they finally did, it happened simply, at the edge of the pack border where Hollow Ridge land met Blackthorn territory, neither of them wearing any title that separated them anymore. Damien was no longer a king making sacrifices for politics. Elena was no longer the girl publicly humbled in front of hundreds of wolves. They stood there as equals, two people bound by something neither of them had chosen, but both of them were finally willing to build honestly, one small step at a time.